Darren Lacey Jr. here with my review of Justice League. Justice League is the culmination of the DC film universe and stars Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Ezra Miller, Ray Fisher, Jason Momoa, Henry Cavill, Jeremy Irons, Diane Lane, Connie Nielsen, J.K. Simmons, Syrian Hines, and Amy Adams. The film follows Batman, who after the events of Batman v Superman is preparing a team of metahumans to protect the Earth from the villainous invader Steppenwolf, who has come to Earth to collect 3 mother boxes, ancient alien technology that holds destructive power. They're pretty much the Tesseract from the Avengers. Justice League is a film that I've been looking forward to since I was like 6 years old. I'm a guy who grew up on the Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Justice League Unlimited, and I've been dying to see these characters on the big screen united against a common threat. Monday night, I got the chance to see an early screening of Justice League, and I can say that the film is fine. It's okay. Justice League is a film that lacks identity, urgency, and feels unearned, but it makes up for these shortcomings with some great character interaction, great action here and there, and a promise of a bright DC future. Let's go ahead and kick off this review with the positives. The team dynamic, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I like seeing these characters together. They all bounce off each other pretty well, and the film takes advantage of mixing them up to create some pretty interesting pairings. Aquaman and Wonder Woman make a great fighting duo, especially with the history of their races. Cyborg and Flash are a tragic but earnest duo. They're the youngest members of the group who got the short end of the stick with their powers, but they're trying to make the best of it. And Batman mentoring Flash is great. So is Wonder Woman inspiring Cyborg. These 5 heroes make a great pair. Flash and Wonder Woman were the standouts for me, however. Ezra Miller's The Flash is a revelation that I can't wait to see more of. Please give him a true solo film before we go off Flashpoint. Like, dude, I mean, hell, you can make Flashpoint, you make Flash, then a year later Flashpoint. I don't know. I just want to see him just be the Flash before we go into all the more dramatic stuff that Flashpoint should be, and I hope it will be. But yeah, I just want to see him be that bright, poppy Flash first before Flashpoint. But you know, that was a tangent. Back to Justice League. Fuck. One moment. His childlike glee never gets old, and even when the movie starts to falter, one of his many quips can make you look past the cracks. Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman continues to be this universe's strongest member. Gadot's ability to go from skillful, fearsome warrior to kind, inspiring beacon of hope always impresses. I like that the film actually addresses Diana's absence from the world after BVS, and well, not after BVS, after her movie Wonder Woman. Yeah, Wonder Woman is when she like disappeared, but like she came back in BVS to fight the giant troll monster and stuff. You know, you saw the movie, right? So yeah, They addressed that. They addressed where Wonder Woman's kind of been, and I like that. And also like that they address her loss of Steve Trevor, which Gal Gadot plays magnificently. She allows that vulnerability through, and it's believable, and that, you know, she is hurt by Steve's loss. So yeah, I like that stuff. I also want to give a shout out to Momoa. Yeah, indeed. Who really made Aquaman his own. This is his own distinct take on the character that feels different from the comic book counterpart, but also doesn't ignore its roots. It's not embarrassed by Aquaman, which I enjoyed. The universe is taking Aquaman down a very interesting road. I think, you know, from what we know from Aquaman and what this movie did, what Justice League did, it's taking it down an interesting road that I can't wait to see James Wan walk down. As much as I did like Aquaman, I would have liked if they held off the introduction of Atlantis, though. We don't fully see it in the film, but we do see some of it, and it's not that it was forced or anything. And Aquaman does go to Atlantis for a reason. It's just there's a lot of information being thrown at you at once with the Atlantean stuff, and I think it would have worked a little better saving off Mira and any other personal connection to Arthur for the Aquaman film, because it just wasn't handled that well in Justice League. It just feels just purely a setup, and it's not even that good of a setup. So I just would have liked if they kind of held that off. I'll get into it more in another video, because I'm honestly trying to dance. I'm honestly dancing around a lot of stuff that one would consider spoilery. The action in the film isn't the greatest, but when it does hit, it hits hard. There's a very cool bow and arrow escape sequence on Themyscira. Flash assisting Diana with her sword, as you've seen in the trailers, was a visual treat. Anything Aquaman did, he's a very formidable fighter in this film, and him driving a parademon through a roof will never get old. That really works on the big screen. That was definitely that was a great crowd. This movie does have a few crowd pleasing moments, and that was definitely one of them. And also him stopping the water with his trident. That was another great crowd pleasing moment. I'm happy they really take advantage of Wonder Woman's lasso, not only for the action, but they also use it to comedic effect a couple of times. Wonder Woman has one of her best moments in the DC film universe when she compels one of the members of the Justice League to tell the truth, and it's hilarious. It makes for it's very sincere, it's hilarious, and it's heartfelt. It's great. It's a great moment for all 5 of them. Also, the movie's a fair amount of fun. Like I said, there's a couple of crowd-pleasing moments. You're gonna laugh. Flash is funny. Wonder Woman has her moments. It's fun. It's fun. Like I said before, these characters aren't. And I'm not saying fun is a bad thing, by the way. I'm not one of those weird people who think fun is is somehow like a cinematic curse. I like fun. So I just want to point that out. I like my movies to be fun. When they need to be fun. But yeah, I'm not against fun. Just throwing that out there. But yeah, like I said before, these characters are great to see together. Most of the time, the 5 characters are seen hanging out in the Batcave, disputing what to do next. We do get some great character interaction in those moments, but it does kind of make the end of the world not really seem all that important. Also, quickly, before I get to some negatives, I do want to point out that there are some cool DC shots in this film that will really excite you as a fan. There's some cool framing that will excite you as a fan if you like some, some certain pairings. So yeah, look out for that. Now on to the negatives. No movie's perfect, folks, and this one isn't the exception. First and foremost, this movie has technical problems that rip me out of the experience. I don't know if this will be a problem for everybody, and for your sake, I hope not. But the picture projected onto the screen didn't fit the entire screen in my auditorium. It might have been a theater problem. It might have been a screening thing, but I have yet to see a Justice League trailer in theaters that has actually fit the entirety of the screen. So I don't know if Justice League is just a movie that doesn't fit the proper aspect ratio, but we'll see when more people see the film. But yes, that was very distracting. It felt like I was watching a trailer formatted for Twitter, which sucks while I'm watching one of the biggest movies of the year. So that took me out of it, and hopefully that you won't share the same experience, but I just had to point that out. There's also numerous times where I had no earthly clue what any of the characters were saying. Superman, Mera, Cyborg, Steppenwolf, I had no idea what they were saying, and some of it seems like it was important. Speaking of Steppenwolf is awful. Just awful. While he does present a physical match for each member of the Justice League, he has no real personality, and the reason of him being what he is in the film is almost laughable. If the film showed us some of the things Steppenwolf was saying or referring to about his past, if it actually showed us some of those things instead of just telling us, he might actually come off a little sympathetic. But since they choose not to, he simply comes off as a big gray alien spewing out sci-fi nonsense and wants to destroy the world for reasons. While some of those reasons are super Kirby, Jack Kirby, just some of his designs and some of the things like, if you know anything about Steppenwolf or where he comes from, which if you watch this movie, you probably won't, Steppenwolf is from Apocalypse. He was created, he's created by Jack Kirby, and he serves Darkseid, and there's whispers of him being in exile, and there's all this stuff, all this meat that you can give this character, and this movie doesn't. And some of this stuff is really cool to see as a comic book fan, because I know this stuff, and I'm pretty sure you watching or other people will know this stuff. But if you don't, it doesn't add anything to the, well, it does add stuff to the plot. It's just they don't fucking say it. They don't actually say any of this stuff. So you have devices like the mother boxes and a villain like Steppenwolf that need more explanation, but since you don't give any of that, all of this just comes off like the mother boxes, they just come off as this super powered thing that bad guy inserts into other thing that causes other thing to happen. The stakes of Justice League on paper are pretty high, but handled on the screen are pretty mute due to the fact that there's no urgency in the film. You never really feel like there's the threat of the world ending. Steppenwolf feels more like an entity floating outside of the action than an actual obstacle for our league. Once he's off screen, you never really think about him or what he's doing, even though what he's doing could mean the end of everything, as we know. It's not like Wonder Woman with Ares or Man of Steel with Zod or even fucking Suicide Squad, where the threat is ever present. You know that there's something out there and that our heroes have to stop this thing or people are going to die. The film also lacks identity, which is strange given the director. Say what you want about Zack Snyder, but when you see one of his films, you know that this is a Zack Snyder film, at least of recent. And I didn't get any of that from Justice League. No matter what you say about BVS or Man of Steel, there's iconography within those films. There are moments, good or bad, that will stay with you, that you will remember because of that beautiful image or the framing. And this film, on the other hand, has that in spurts. You can pick out a frame here or there, but overall, a lot of these images you won't remember. It's just not that visually appealing as a film, especially, which hurts coming from someone like Snyder. There's a thread in the film and a few scattered scenes that feel like Whedon, who overtook a majority of the post-production and some reshoots after a major tragedy overtook Zack Snyder's family, but I never felt Zack Snyder's touch. I like when films have a personal touch, good or bad. You can tell that this is personally coming from a director. You can see his or her style all over this film. And we've seen a lot of films almost all of the superhero movies this year have a distinct style about them, and Justice League just didn't. It didn't really have an identity, and that's unfortunate to be seen in the biggest superhero movie of the year. Back to some technical issues, the film also lacks a sense of tangibility. Nothing in this film, except for the actors, sometimes feels real. The environments, the villains, nothing feels like it's actually there. There are scenes with Steppenwolf where I felt like I was watching a video game cutscene, which sucks in 2017 when we can fucking recreate people. There's no weight to any of the punches thrown, any of the bodies that fly. Nothing feels like it's there. And yes, I know, none of it really is, but the last thing you want people thinking about when you have characters standing in a digital environment is a green screen. I expect a lot more from the CGI in these big budget tentpoles. Lastly, and surprisingly, I didn't really care for Affleck's performance as Bruce Wayne or Batman, sans a scene where he's throwing massive shade at Wonder Woman or when he's discussing his guilt over Superman's death. During the film, I just felt like I never felt like I was watching Bruce Wayne or Batman. I just felt like I was watching Ben Affleck. Also, Batman being super quippy isn't something I entirely hate. Hey, he's allowed to make jokes. He doesn't always have to be the straight man. But there's a line you can cross where you can have a character that doesn't necessarily or always make jokes, start making jokes, and that can kind of turn him into an adult. And I feel like this film skirts that line a couple of times. Plus, I felt throughout most of the fight scenes, Batman is the short end of useless. He doesn't really do much in these fights and relies a little too much on his machinery than the actual man. I feel like Batman should be able to take a parademon instead of trying to find the quickest way to one of his toys. Also, Wonder Woman takes the lead a couple of times, especially toward the end, and Batman more or less elects her to do so, so why exactly are you here? Last thing, and I know the last thing was the last thing, but it's not because I skipped over the script, so yeah. Danny Elfman's score is unfortunately forgettable. The score has two of the most iconic scores of all time, with Elfman's own Batman score and John Williams' Superman score, but he doesn't really go all in using either of them. The score is kind of a Where's Waldo situation in trying to hear out these scores. Once some of them start up, they're almost immediately gone, which is really disappointing considering that these scores are these characters' fundamental sounds. Like when you hear these scores, like you get excited, and they're rarely seen or heard. Heard makes more sense. They're rarely heard. You can't see sounds unless you're Ben Affleck's Daredevil, which I think he could see sounds. Justice League isn't an absolute train wreck. It does right by most of these characters and puts the cinematic universe on a road worth going down, but narratively, visually, and direction-wise, it's pretty forgettable. But I want to see more Barry. I want to see more Diana. I want to see more Superman, which I haven't talked about for spoiler reasons, but yeah, I want to see more Superman. And I'll be doing a separate Superman review, talking about all that spoilery goodness that involves Superman. But bottom line, I want to see more of these characters. I want to see more of this universe. And if Justice League succeeded on that front, then I guess we can count most of this as a win. I just wish this movie felt more earned, that there was more build up to this team up. Hopefully this movie can be a springboard for a more fully formed DC film universe and a more fully formed Justice League sequel, because I want to see another one. I don't want the DC film universe to be burned down to the ground. Could use a Flashpoint one day, but I do want the filmmakers to work on it a little bit more, which they seem to be doing with all the choices they've made of late. I am looking forward to Shazam. A Deathstroke movie directed by Gareth Evans sounds like a gift from the heavens. I do want to see an eventual Man of Steel 2, just a more, fully formed Superman movie. Wonder Woman 2 looks great. I want to see a Flash movie. I actually think a Cyborg movie can work, because like a character who doesn't eat, sleep, who just is kind of really separated from humanity. That's kind of a Dr. Manhattan story. I think you can make that work if you put the work into it. Yeah, and Aquaman, of course. I mean, James Wan directing a Aquaman movie. Sign me up for that. There's hope for this universe, and hope never dies. That wasn't in the movie either. So are you guys looking forward to Justice League? Please let me know in the comment sections below. If you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you like hearing me talk about movies, please hit that subscribe button. Come join the conversation. I'll be glad to have you. I will also be talking about Justice League in more depth on Till Last Credit, a channel I co-run. We'll have spoiler reviews, a DC film retrospective that I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find on there on Wednesday, and our thoughts on the film universe going forward. So please head over and check all that out. Also, as I said before, I'll be doing a Superman review similar to my Spider-Man Homecoming. Spider-Man Homecoming. After Civil War, I did a review strictly on the Spider-Man stuff because, people don't want to know about the secret characters going in, and I don't want to talk about them in the main review. So I'll be doing a separate review for Superman. That'll be out Friday on the release of the film. And yeah, so with all that being said, I'm Darren Jr. Hope you guys enjoyed this review, and I'll catch you guys next time.